I tell people the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And so there's a lot that we do. And again, I think that's the product of having this legacy model that's been, over 40 years to help coach and develop and support franchise owners so they can be successful.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of FranCoach's Franchising 101 podcast. I'm Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of FranCoach and your podcast host. Today, we're going to welcome in one of our franchise partners. This is a very well-established brand, been around literally for decades. It has a fantastic service offering, very unsexy, not going to lie, but it is recession-resistant, B2B, multiple service offerings, subscription model. So all the materials and all the things that make for a big business with pretty little overhead as well. Something that's never going away, not getting replaced by AI or robots or any of that stuff anytime in any of our lifetimes. Sounds kind of cool, right? That's coming up next. First, quick reminder, again, FranCoach, sure, we are the premier franchise consulting firm. Our number one goal has nothing to do with selling you stuff. It is all about education. We're going to help you get properly educated on the world of franchising to help you determine if you should own a franchise, and if so, help you find what is your best franchise. No such thing as a best franchise out there, folks. It is incredibly individualized and personalized, and our team is going to help you figure this out. Maybe it's the franchise we're going to talk to next. Stay tuned and see. All right, we are back with our guest, and joining us today is the Director of Franchise Development for our featured brand today, which is called Enviro Master. And joining us is Carson Suppé. Carson, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Tim, thanks for having me.
We are excited to chat with you. We've got a whole slew of things we want to get to with Enviro Master. But as you well know, franchising is a people business. I love hearing, getting to know the people, hearing their stories. Give us the Carson scoop, man. Who the heck is Carson, and how'd you get into this crazy world of ours in franchising?
I tell you, it's a small world in franchising. Once you're in it, you kind of feel like you're in it forever. So I started out as a kid. I was a military brat, moved every 3 years, ended up in Tampa, Florida for college, and graduated right in the middle of the downed economy, 2008, kind of date myself. And yeah, couldn't find a great job, was working in, call centers, for-profit education. And fortunately, I got a recruiter that said, hey, if you can work in this job, you can work in that one, which was a cold call appointment setting role in a company that did like promotional products distributors. And so I cold called for their M&A department, their franchise development department, and their sales rep recruiting department. And I did that well enough to where eventually I got a promotion to help, develop the franchise. They called it a business advisor. And so it was a pure conversion model. We would try to convert sales reps and print shops into being a distributor. And so one job led to the next. And I've been with Enviro Master for about 3 years now, a total of 10 years in the franchising industry.
It's crazy. You just almost everybody we talk to has some just random story of how they get into this, and then it's a decade, it's 2, it's 3. It's like once you're into this crazy thing, you rarely get out. You may move, you may change logos once in a while, but you are you're there. So and also in the wonderful city of Tampa, Florida. So I'm in my Arizona home today in the recording studio, but half my life I'm down there with you as well. So great place to live. As you well know, and especially as we get into the fall and or as I like to call it in the South, fake fall and then fake winter. So but cool, man. So tell us a little bit. We got this franchise you're working with called Enviro Master. Start with just what the heck is Enviro Master? What does it do? Who are some of the customers?
So the way I describe it, I try to avoid the keyword commercial cleaning, even though technically it is under the commercial cleaning umbrella. But when I say that, what do you think about?
I think about cleaning the whole building.
Yeah, like your middle school janitor, or like someone that's vacuuming and wiping down countertops.
Correct.
Not exactly risk mitigation, just kind of checking the box.
Right.
And so what we focus on is businesses that want to protect their brand. So it's 100% B2B, but we're doing restaurants, bathrooms, kitchens, dining room areas, the concrete on the exterior, the dumpster pad on the back. We're doing break rooms, window cleaning. We sell paper products. So we actually have our own proprietary line of paper, much like Georgia Pacific or other big brands. So it's a really unique, if you will, like niche cleaning business, but it's all about recurring revenue, very low cost of goods sold. So very minimal capital intensity and a huge customer base. So restaurants, retail, gas stations, gyms, auto service, bowling alleys, any storefront consumer facing business.
Got it. Okay. So, and you even said a couple things in there that's honestly maybe are a little bit newer, or I just like have forgotten. I'm old. So, sometimes those things start to slip. But it's not just kind of that restroom area. It's all of those. So it's so many more things that you are doing, but really focusing on the areas that you're like, this needs to be clean, right? Lest we're going to have issues with customers and or with our staff, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. And for the longest time, we were a predominantly restroom focused brand. In fact, some of the more old school or old heads in franchising may have been familiar with our predecessor brand, Swisher Hygiene.
Right.
So Swisher started in the 80s, ran for 20 years underneath the italic S logo. And basically they ended up getting bought out by the founder for waste management. They got very heavy into chemical sales, eventually sold to Ecolab. And so when Enviro Master was incepted in 2009, our founder had a 5-year non-compete. Basically, he decided, I'm going to get back into bathrooms. He started Enviro Master, and that was really still our focus for like 10 of the last 15, 16 years. In the last few years, we've really just expanded that service offering to increase our addressable market and, of course, create additional stickiness in the account. Because the more you sell somebody, the harder it is to get rid of you as a vendor.
Yeah. So talk about that, right? So, so I wasn't losing my mind because I'll even go back to, really, really early of me doing this is seeing somebody with an EnviroMaster do their magic in the bathroom. And like, I still can kind of gag a little bit from the light that they were using. Oh, you think your bathroom is clean? That's adorable. And then you're like, oh, like I'm never going into another public restroom ever again. Right. Of course I'm a dude, so I go in there, it doesn't matter. Right. But it was crazy, like, and I'm sure an amazing selling point for your owners. Oh, you think this is clean? Let me do this. So how did, like, kind of what led to that evolution of, hey, we're really good at this one important part of the business, but here's a couple other areas where we can kind of grow and expand into. How did that all come about?
So we also have a service called the Virus Vaporizer. And if you look up EnviroMaster on YouTube or look up our website, you'll see it kind of looks like a bubble wand. During COVID, it killed it. We had like 500% system-wide revenue growth during the COVID years. And some of that spray business died down after COVID. And so we had this big spike. And of course, we want to keep growing. Our goal is to grow this, as much as possible, to have franchisees doing multi-millions, which, by the way, our average is about $1 million a year. Our top quartile does about $2 million a year out of a single warehouse.
Right.
And so, the way to do that, there's only 3 ways you can grow. You get new customers, you sell more to your existing customers, or you buy up customers through mergers and acquisitions. And the low-hanging fruit, I talk to all my clients about this, is the upsell. Hey, you're buying pressure washing from Chuck in the Truck's pressure washing service or window cleaning. Why not me? Our chief revenue officer likes to say, give them one throat to choke. So one
Right.
vendor that'll solve more problems, that'll be more reliable, and can save them money. And so that's really the way we present this to potential customers. Isn't like, hey, who does your cleaning? It's,
Right.
hey, I can consolidate your vendors. I can reduce your headache. I can save you some money. I can help with your marketability and your brand. And I can mitigate some of the risks by having a better looking, a better cleaning facility. How does that help
Right.
with your staff? How does that help with your customers?
Gotcha.
So Yeah, I don't know if that answers it.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, a little bit more kind of almost being able to help with almost facility maintenance or management with everything, with all the different things versus just the one, right? So, which again is more revenue streams for your owners. So, talk a little bit about your owner, right? So it's easy to like, look, this isn't a business that's going to win the award for, all right, and the award for sexiest business of the year goes to like Enviro Master ain't up on the podium, right? But never ever going away. And it's one thing if I don't want to clean my house, but if I have a business that has customers coming in or any people coming in, I kind of going to want that clean, or they're probably not coming back, right? So you've got that kind of true recession. I hate to say proof, but this is pretty darn close.
I use the word resistance.
With that. That's a way better word, right? But but again, not sexy. So as somebody sitting out there, you can see the positives and go, man, I don't want to be cleaning bathrooms and washing windows and pressure washing all day. The common myth in franchising. Go ahead and dispel that for us right now. Or do you really look for owners that I'm like, yeah, Bob, you got to be in there all day, every day cleaning stuff, right?
No, and that's something I talk to people about is like the blueprint is to hire somebody for ops day one. And of course the goal, right, is to have a reliable ops person forever. You don't have to put your hand on a toilet once or to do a service once. Is that always the case? Of course not, because we're dealing with human capital.
Right.
And the analogy I give someone who wants to be semi-absentee, everybody loves that buzzword, semi-absentee. It means of one thing to one guy and something completely different to the other.
Correct.
Is like, what happens if your ops guy gets hit by a bus tomorrow? Do you just say, all right, customer, sorry, we'll get back to you in a couple of weeks when we've got a new guy trained and ready to go? No, someone's got to make the donuts. It's the other little phrase I'll use. So the ideal role of a franchise owner is to be focused on business development and the financial piece, right? Does the P&L look right? Are we following the blueprint? Getting out and talking to customers. We handle like the back office stuff, the AR. So we do the billing and invoicing and collection. We deal with all the purchasing and vendors. So they just basically go to a centralized store to buy all the products and supplies and equipment they need. And then we have an IT team that helps manage all the technology piece. But the other side of this is like going out and having those face-to-face conversations with customers. You would think in me saying that we would attract a bunch of like door-to-door sales guys. But surprisingly, a lot of our top franchise owners are engineers. They're finance.
Really?
They're C-suite, because they understand people and following a business plan and building insulation. And that's the key between growing a business and scaling a business. If you can build up those middle level positions to where you have a great ops guy and a couple route supervisors underneath him, and you have a great sales guy and a couple sales reps, I call them hunters and farmers beneath them. This is something they can get to a multi-million-dollar level on one warehouse, on one investment. And so as that revenue on the top line increases, the margins get bigger and bigger on the bottom because your fixed expense shouldn't drastically increase from one year to the next.
Right. Gotcha. So though this is a hunter in anything that's B2B, somebody's got to go hunt, right? And I know want to come back to there's probably some name recognition and national accounts and things like that, but you got to go find the customer. So as an owner, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be the one doing it. It's kind of time or money, right? Either I'm going to spend my time to do it or my money to hire you to do it. Right. So they don't necessarily have to be the ones, but really, I'm guessing kind of that understanding of the people component and building those great relationships, because these should be very kind of like sticky, recurring revenue customers, correct?
Yep. Yeah. We sign our customers on an agreement. Again, the idea is that, like you said before, that somebody is going to have to keep the place clean. So it's either an internal employee or a third party vendor, or sometimes, I guess occasionally they may have a middle level regional guy that does it, like a franchise group or something like that.
They don't need to be like, somebody's got to go sell, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the owner, right?
Yeah. So a lot of our franchise owners hire. A lot of them hire, and we have a lot of support that helps recruit and train and onboard a sales rep, but they're reporting to the business owner themselves.
Yeah. And so the business owner at that point is if like, if you're not, again, it's time or money. If you're gonna hire somebody that's out doing the work, the actual work, right? Or people that are out doing the work, hire sales person, people as you continue to grow with that. The work that's actually being done, because there is stuff that is being cleaned, are those, as an owner, are you hiring those as employees? Are we subcontracting that out? What does that look like?
Yep, they're W-2 employees. I mean, part of the job is that they are running a specific route throughout the week. So analogy I'll use is like the trash business. You think about the trash man, they go from one house to the next. Our techs come into the warehouse Monday morning. They have a team meeting. And so when you're going to give someone that type of directives, like, hey, you need to be at the warehouse on Monday morning, that makes them, most accountants would agree with a W-2 employee. And then they go from A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These are the 10 customers you hit on Monday. These are the 14 you hit on Tuesday. These are the 10 you hit on Wednesday, and one after the next. What services, what manner we do it, how to check in, how to check out, and schmooze the customer. That's another thing. This is a daytime hour clean.
Right.
So most cleaners are after hours or, when no one's in the office. We're going in, techs start their route at 5:30 a.m. They hit the food and beverage, the, fast food, quick service restaurants, fine dining, bars early in the morning. And then late morning, early afternoon, they're moving to the gas stations, the gyms, the bowling alleys. Monday through Friday, that's when those businesses are at their slowest.
Right. So, I mean, this is really, anybody that thought, boy, I really like something in logistics. This is definitely that. How do, as an owner, right, you hear all that, and there's obviously the strategy behind where we're going. How does an owner have to figure that out? Are they like cocktail napkin and drawing that up every single day? All right, Bob, you're going to these. Like, talk about kind of how that happens and how the franchisor is helping with that.
Yeah, so we of course have software that helps with all of that. There's a routing software that we use that basically gives the techs directions, based on traffic patterns, based on all sorts of stuff. It's just like any large, FedEx or Amazon company would have to keep track of their route. We use a CRM when it comes to keeping track of customers and, of course, potential customers as well. And then QuickBooks and accounting needs. We did just invest into an ERP. It has not been implemented yet, but that's something we're really excited about. It's basically going to help consolidate some of the tech.
Nice. Have you gotten to where you can automatically change the traffic lights to green for all your technicians yet?
Yes. Yeah. We can't publicize that, but
it's coming. Got a little big brother tie in there. So, okay. Then what do we need as far, you mentioned kind of a warehouse space. What are owners starting with from that standpoint?
depends on whether or not they start a single territory or a multi-territory. So the only difference between a single and a multi is that they own a larger runway of customers that they can sell to over time. They can still run it from one warehouse, one space. And so when I say warehouse, it's a 2,000 to 3,000 square foot light industrial flex space. So you probably recognize, like you think about the spot that if you were to go get your car tinted and, you know, they have a big loading dock on the back, the front side would have an office. The back side would be where the products get dropped off. And so if you started with a single territory, you could technically start it from a storage unit, very lean, quicker runway to start making money. If you have a multi-territory, we expect that you want to scale and you want to do that as quickly as possible. So that means you need to have a space where you can hold interviews, do team meetings, and obviously have that overhead out the gate.
Right. Gotcha. Team meetings, standing around the warehouse or the storage units, probably not. Get a couple lawn chairs and,
Yep. Hey,
you know,
people do it.
portable light. But
people do it.
And again, it's nice that you can have that to be able to start smaller. And some people, that's exactly the best, sometimes the only way they can do it. Right. So we've got
some
markets. True. Some of the smaller ones. Right. So, because these are big size territories that we're looking at typically, correct?
Yeah. I mean, like we have, again, depending on how many territories the franchisee wants to have, someone could have all of, you know, Suffolk County, New York, or they could have, you know, just a little portion of Brooklyn. So It depends on what area they want to focus on. And of course, what their end game is. If I want to get to a multi-million-dollar level, I need to have a couple territories.
Yeah.
If I want to, you know, make a million or two in top line revenue, I could probably do that out of a single territory if I'm really efficient.
Gotcha. And again, being able to do that, you talk about the territories, yes, adding a second or third territory, there's the franchise fee for that, but it's not like a brick and mortar thing where you've got to build out 2,000 square feet of Class A real estate at each spot. You're able to kind of centrally locate that warehouse and run everything from there, even with multiple territories, correct?
Exactly. And that's what I was saying, that your fixed expense shouldn't drastically increase. You may hire another sales rep, which requires a base plus commission. Yes, your landlord may increase rent a little bit from one year to the next, or you may invest in another company vehicle, but it's not like building out another $1 million location.
What is, I'm sure there's probably several, but when people come and they start talking to you and like, oh, I really like it, but my big concern is blank. What's maybe the most common concern people have kind of initially looking at Enviro Master?
Probably the grind of the business development piece. Hey, I'm not a sales guy.
Right.
I've had very few of our franchisees came from any like high volume sales background. And all I'll say is like, it's not as difficult as it sounds. It's a numbers game, and our services are in demand. So if you have the conversations and people like you and trust you, then eventually they'll find a way to work with you. And so like one of my first jobs, I was saying it in franchising, I was cold calling people, and I would sometimes call these people for like 3 to 6 months before they would say, God, if you just stop calling me, fine, I'll give you the time of day.
Right.
And one of those ladies ended up moving forward with the franchise. Now she's got $3 to $4 million that she's doing a year. And I've seen her make multiple posts on LinkedIn being like, if it wasn't for this one guy chasing me and badgering me, I would have never done this.
Yeah.
And like, if you're likable and professional and people says, yeah, you know what, I can't talk, sorry, come in next Tuesday. And then you come next Tuesday, at some point they'll open their mind and say, you know what, you're right, let's sit down.
Well, and just the fact that they said come back next Tuesday and you came back next Tuesday, right? So we just had one of the coaches on our team, one you know very well, we just got one of our clients signed a franchise agreement. Well, it was like from a year and a half ago when they first spoke, and he had death in the family, had a few things going on, and he's like, give me a call back in 6 months. And literally in our CRM, she puts like black and white, 6 months. Picked up the phone in 6 months, and he's like, hey, everything's kind of calming down now. Let's get back into this. Because she actually did, it's that professionalism. And again, you're bringing that into, I'm sure, an industry that isn't full of high level professionals that are doing this. Right. So that certainly helps. I feel like one of the big concerns people just have in general of franchising is labor. Right. Well, what happened if my person out doing the work quits or gets ran over by a bus? Oh my gosh, what do I do then? I always think as an owner, you should have plan B and plan C in place when it comes to labor anyway. But I know there's some things for you guys that you have kind of set up or you're coaching them on from that standpoint, because you will have, as an owner, I don't care what business, at some point you're going to have a labor issue. Somebody's going to leave. You're going to want somebody to leave. They're going to, whatever it is. But how does Enviro Master kind of help owners kind of coach them and kind of plan for how to build their team and any of those times things that do come up?
So the good thing about our, if you will, ops manual is that it's been built over 40 years, dating all the way back to the Swisher hygiene days. So I hate to admit this, it's 650 plus pages. Thank God it's finally in a digital format. But the idea is that, like, if someone gets hit by a bus, like I was saying before, year one, that owner, unfortunately, is probably going to have to go out and make the donuts, clean a toilet or do the pressure washing job. But if they're doing it right, the blueprint that I show candidates is like, you should be hiring a reliable ops manager out the gate, and they are your, hey, I called out sick or something happened, they can fill in that route for the day. As time goes on, though, that's the idea, is that you have a lead, an ops manager, and then you have route supervisors underneath that are above the technicians. Technicians would be probably the ones that are more often than not having real world problems outside of work hours that, hey, I can't show up and it's 5:30 in the morning. It's not ideal, but that's the ops manager's problem to put out that fire.
Right. Yeah, no, and I always think, and I'm sure you guys coach people on this too. It's like, I always say, always be hiring, right? Like, just don't assume because oh man, I love my team at the beginning. Cool, right? Like, don't stop talking to people and interviewing people or whatever it might, depending on the business model. There's a lot of ways to kind of have a plan B and C involved in there. And if you don't, well, then it's your own dang fault that you got to go out and do all of that stuff, right? So that's good. Business has been around for a long time. Though as consumers, we may not think of it because we're not actual customers of EnviroMaster. But I bet you anything, there's somebody out there listening, one of our 8 listeners to this wonderful show are going to see this in a bathroom somewhere, right? I think, especially being right, especially being living on the east side of Phoenix for years and years and years. EnviroMaster's everywhere, man. So you go, like, I go into a bathroom at a restaurant or whatever, there's a good chance I am seeing that, right? And so most people probably don't realize it, but it's been there for this, right? But as you think about this, talk about some of the, like, there's some national accounts, some ways that the brand itself, you may be talking to a customer, oh, I've never heard of you. You got a lot of kind of mic drop things. So like, oh, well, have you heard of this company, blah, blah, these big nationally known things? Yeah, we're working with them, right? And my last little disclaimer to people on national accounts are always, that does not mean you just kick your feet up on the desk and wait for EnviroMaster national accounts to rain down thousands of dollars a day on your head. That ain't how it works, but it's also very helpful and nice. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I actually use the term corporate accounts as opposed to national or regional accounts. More often than not, they're hunting licenses. So like we have a national or corporate account with Chick-fil-A. Okay. We're a franchise selling to another franchise. And everyone thinks about Chick-fil-A as the gold standard of like fast food cleanliness. But guess why that is? Because they have a franchisee that's owner operator.
Right.
And they're on site throughout the week, and their employees, the cashier or whatever, does more frequent spot checks. That doesn't mean that they're out there, getting underneath the toilet brim and using elbow grease. Right. They also use third-party vendors like us.
Right.
And so while we don't have 100% coverage for every Chick-fil-A across the country, they said, yeah, this makes sense. This is going to help our franchise partners. Here's the pricing. Here's the infrastructure. Go get them, Tiger. And so you can go in as a EnviroMaster franchise owner to any Chick-fil-A and say, yeah, we have this corporate account set up with you guys. You don't have to use us. We work with X number of locations in your area. So-and-so Jim down the street. Yeah, he works with us too. Would you be open to sitting down for a couple minutes? And some will, some won't. Who cares? Move forward. Right. And so there's a ton. We do about $10 million a year across the system in just those corporate account contracts. Sometimes they are, here you go, here's the address, go service it. Right. More often than not, it's a hunting license.
Yeah. Love it. Well, and then it's also when you then walk into the local Bob's Chicken, right? And Bob's like, I don't know who you are. Bob, have you heard of Chick-fil-A? It's the one with the line going around the building twice.
Oh, yeah.
We work with them all over the country. Like,
you name drop.
Correct. It's just a fantastic kind of way to be able to do that. So incredibly beneficial from that. Talk about maybe what's something hidden about the brand that maybe somebody wouldn't think of, or even kind of maybe an area in which you guys support franchise owners that somebody's going to go, oh, I didn't know that was a thing that people would support me with.
I'd say one of the more challenging pieces of scaling a business like this, especially with chains, and people don't think about it, is the AR, accounts receivable component, right? Like just sending out a bill and collecting on it when you're doing weekly recurring services and you're dealing with Aldi's and you're dealing with Darden Restaurant Group and you're dealing with Firestone, they all have their own process. Right. And if you don't submit your bill in the right way, you don't get paid. And cash is king. Like that's one thing that impacts any business from growing and scaling is how quickly are they getting paid? What does their cash flow look like? Right. And so we have a team that will send out the invoice no matter what customer it is, mom and pop or local, chain brand or national chain brand. and we'll do the invoicing, we'll do the light collection efforts and the payment processing. Imagine having $1 million business. Like our average, I think I said that before, is about $1 million last year. Our average new account across the system last year used about, call it $100 a week. So $5,000 a year.
Okay.
So using utopian cookie cutter math, it's never like that, by the way. Call it 200 accounts.
Right.
Weekly services, 52 weeks in a year, 200 accounts. So like, how difficult would it be to track 10,000 services and invoices and billings? I mean,
that made my head hurt, you just saying it. So, right. And so it's either as an owner, then you're like, oh man, I got to do that myself. Or then I have to hire somebody and hope that they're good at it. Or like, oh, I have a franchisor, right? Or I have a franchisor that's going to help me with this. Right. So, yeah, it's not like you just come to the house or to the business and somebody like hands you $100 bill for, hey, thanks for coming. Right. It is going to take a little time. The beauty of it is recurring. It does take a little time. Like you're not getting, I'm sure it's like net 30, net 60 sometimes. Right. So
yeah,
it's coming. It's just, you got to be kind of like, again, part of that investment, even for this, I'm sure a big chunk of that is just that operating capital to kind of float all that at the beginning. Right.
you're absolutely right. Yeah. Working capital is a big line item in our item 7. So on a single territory, the range is between 50 and 150 grand. On a multi-territory, it's between 2 and 300. Yeah. And so the idea is that if you're going to be paying that much more for payroll, you have a larger warehouse space, you have a sales rep out the gate. Obviously, you do need to have cash set aside to cover those expenses, overhead, fixed and variable, until you've started to get paid from customers enough.
Yeah. Well, and I greatly appreciate the fact that you guys have a large number in there. And I always think if anybody ever gets scared off by, well, that's a big number on operating capital, then let me just tell you, you're looking at a good franchise from that standpoint versus the one they're like, no, I'm sure like 10 grand will get you through the first 3 months. I'm like,
well, that's all they're required to show. Federal Trade Commission only requires you show 3 months. Ours is 12 months.
Yes. And hey, there was a brick and mortar one recently that I saw. Literally the low end of the 3-month operating capital was 10 grand. And I'm like, that might get you through 3 weeks, right? Let alone three. Like, do we think about rent for this? But so no. Again, I appreciate that. Which shows that you are genuinely trying to make sure your owners are well prepared to come in and again, don't be capitalized, be over capitalized. So that puts everybody in a good position. You guys have been around a while. You've got a lot of locations, but we're not still sold out. We've got some turf to be able to take a look at around the country still, correct?
Yep. Yeah, we have about 180 available single territories. Spots like Tucson, Boise, New Orleans, surprisingly. We have, all of Long Island. I don't know why I can't get anyone from Long Island to move forward with this. It's a great market. There's tons of our customers there. So yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I've heard from coaches though in the past is, hey, I love the brand. I love the model. If I've got like an agnostic client, I always bring them to you because this is like the unsexy business that they want. And they live in Dallas, anytime I send a territory check, there's nothing there.
Right.
That's actually something that's evolving right now. So we have franchise owners that, and maybe I shouldn't be talking about this publicly.
Well, you've been around long enough. You're at that point where you're going to start getting some churn with owners that are just like, nah, like I've been doing this a while. I'm ready to exit. Right.
Yep. Or that they're sitting at a $1.5 million revenue level and they've gotten complacent.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you're sitting on a market that should be 3 to 5 million. Are you going to hire sales reps? Well, no, if that's not the case, when you come up for renewal, you're going to have to assign a different, growth expectation because our business model has evolved. And so your expectations have evolved as well. And so there are certain markets where territory may not be available today, but in the near future that may evolve.
Yeah, no. And it just helps from that owner. Again, if you want to lock in like that, that's great. But it's the potential for the growth, especially I'm guessing some of your original owners, as you started adding some of those services, there's always the this is how I've always done it. This is how I'm always going to do it. Right. To be able to kind of embrace that. But still tons of good opportunity for that. Carson, last thing I want to fire at you, and I can't thank you enough for all of this information about Enviro Master, but is there anything missing we haven't talked about? You're like, oh man, I want to make sure everybody knows this one last thing about Enviro Master today.
I guess I'll just beat a dead horse on saying you don't have to be a sales guy for this. You don't have to be, the hunter for this to be successful. We do a lot to help support that component with, a team that does cold calls. So we actually pick up the phone on behalf of the franchisee, introduce the services and set appointments. I talked about that sales coaching tool. So the kind of mentoring, hey man, what does your pipeline look like? How many doors did you open up today? You watching the Cowboys Eagles game tonight? Yeah. Who do you like? The more engaged those employees are with the system, not just the owner, typically the better they are. And I tell people the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And so there's a lot that we do. And again, I think that's the product of having this legacy model that's been, over 40 years to help coach and develop and support franchise owners so they can be successful.
So I love it. I'm going to throw one last one at you. And again, I'm catching you off guard with this. So you talked about, you don't have owners that have tons of like the more executive level engineers, C-suite versus just that true salesperson. Is there a trait you have found with people that have led them to be very successful owners for you guys?
So, if they can, like you had said before, this is a relationship business. And so you're not going to be the one that's cleaning the toilet. May not be the one out the gate that's doing the sales, but at very least, you're going to try to help and develop that salesperson beneath them. If you're a schmuck, excuse my wording, you're going to have a hard time scaling any business that's scalable. And so like whether they were an engineer or a sales guy or an accountant before this, the ones that are successful understand people, how to nurture relationships and how to build that team underneath them.
Yeah. I was going to say you were kind of going initially from that external standpoint, but to me, it's the internal as well of people always go, oh, like have all these concerns about labor just in general. And I'm like, there's not a labor shortage. There's a good leader shortage. And if you have a lot of turnover, I don't care what business, and you're trying to figure out why, walk around your house until you find a room that has a mirror in it.
I love
glance
it.
in there. That's the problem. If you, like you said, hey, like, who you got tonight in the game, or like what's going on with your cat, right? That was sick, or what, get to know your people. Right. And so we always talk about it in franchising, hey, follow the plan, whatever. But again, if you are a business owner, this is a people business. You have people on your team, you have staff, you have people you may not do the sales, but at some point you're going to get out and meet your customers at some point, like be able to have a conversation, build a relationship, get to know them a little bit. So Carson, that's a fantastic thing to end on. Like don't be a schmuck, be a people person, get to know your people. We'll make sure that's our clip for social media too, by the way. So, but super
awesome.
Cool. Carson,
can't wait for the CEO to quote me on that.
Yes, exactly. I can't thank you enough, man, for coming on. It was far too long to have you guys on. I love the brand, everything about it. And I thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Tim.
Hey, thanks again to Carson Suppé from Enviro Master franchise. I loved talking to Carson and honestly getting a little refresher myself on, I kind of forgot how many different services that they are now offering their clients, which is absolutely fantastic. We hope our podcast continues to provide some insight into the amazing possibilities that can be had in the world of franchising. Please be sure to, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, follow all of the things, wherever you listen to the podcast. Certainly our YouTube channel as well, FranCoach for You. Our podcast is there. It's a bunch of other stuff. Our Franchising 360 show is there as well. In addition to being able to find that on Biz TV every Friday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. When you are ready to learn a little bit more about franchise ownership to see if it's for you, and if so, what is your best brand, reach out to our team, francoach.net. Everything with Franchising 101 podcast is FranCoach. Our team is here ready to work with you, ready to help you out through this journey. Again, there's no fee for our service. So take that first step, contact our team, and let us help you create your better tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll see you next week.